Hey mamas, it's Mama Fox and it's 2 p.m. Central on Wednesday, March 4th. I'm so excited to be here with you because finally it's March and finally we're going to have our first 2-week free challenge of 2026. I've been like, I came so close to doing one in February. I did, because I love these free challenges, okay? So I had a little graphic that I posted in the group, I think yesterday, and it was like, okay, 2 weeks that will change everything. Now, any 2-week challenge that we do here, and there will be 4 of them in 2026, one each quarter, any 2-week challenge could change everything. This one is the big dog. This one is the big one that's really going to completely change everything for you if you've not been doing this habit that I'm going to share with you. And I'm so excited about it. I've already shared it with my membership group. They're on board for it. They know what to do. They're going to lead the way. I've shared it with the Foxy Foundation 10-week coaching group. We're on week 9 in there, and they know what this habit is, and they're on board, and they're going to be able to also participate and practice and share as well. And then for those of you here in this group, some of you have already been practicing this habit a little bit. I actually just saw Mama, I believe it's Brenda Z. Mama Brenda Z just posted a good question kind of related to this habit. So I know she's learning about it and things. And some of you have been here for a long while. You've been practicing it. Some of you are new and you're like, what is she even talking about? I'm going to tell you. This 2 weeks starts on March 16th. It will be a free 2-week challenge. And if you come along with us and you practice this, you are going to be shocked at what this habit is going to do for your entire day, your entire evening even, and what it will do for you after practicing it for 2 weeks. Even if you sometimes mess up, that's the cool thing about practice. Even if you mess up, you're still practicing and you're still making progress and things like that. This 2 weeks that starts on March 16th, we are going to be focused on taking good care of our insulin and good care of our hunger and satiety hormones. And that sounds complicated, but it's actually very simple. Very, very simple. And the most powerful thing that we can do for that is to set ourselves up with the first meal of the day, whatever time that is for you. I'm not going to tell you what time to eat your breakfast. Whatever time is good for you to eat that first meal of the day, we're going to build it the food peace way so that your entire day is set up so well, honoring insulin, honoring your satiety and hunger hormones. And what happens, it's kind of mind-blowing. And when I started building food peace meals and trying to figure this out and learn about it about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I was shocked because I'd already been coaching. I already knew a lot about healthy eating. Okay, I did. I'd already been coaching and learning and doing things for years and years and years and years. And yet I had so much food noise. I just didn't know it. I thought that was how everybody was, or I thought that was just how I was, and there it was, and that's how it's going to be forever and ever. Amen. I had no idea that my food noise was not normal. Well, I guess it was normal for me, but it wasn't healthy. It wasn't good. I had no idea. I had no idea how bad it was until it wasn't there anymore, right? And it's kind of like when you have I'll tell you what. I was at the bank. I had to go inside the bank. Do y'all even go inside the bank anymore? Like, I bet it's been a year or longer. But I had to go inside the bank. I had to get out of my car and go inside the bank because I needed something done with papers and stuff. And the sweet lady that was helping me at the bank, her little cubicle was right next to that machine thing that people dump their coins in it and it sorts them and counts them. I don't know if that thing has a name. But it was rather loud. And I sat there thinking, I'm like, she has to listen to this all the time. And I bet after so long, she doesn't even realize it's somebody's there doing it, or it's not that loud. Like for me, it was like, whew, this is a little unnerving. It's kind of very clangy. And this dear man, he had a container. This is my desk here. I don't know if you can see it, but he had a container that was like, I would say it was literally 3 feet tall, full of pennies. He ran that thing the whole time I was sitting there. And anyway, I was like, that's unnerving me, but it was not bothering this lady that works at the bank. She's used to it, right? She's gotten used to that noise, even though that noise was unnerving and it ought to be unnerving. She got used to it. And for me, and maybe you have food noise and you don't even know it. Or maybe you used to think about it and now you don't even realize it anymore. And that is really one of the main things that started me on a slightly different coaching and personal journey a little over 2 years ago at this point, where I was starting to hear that term food noise. I was hearing it thrown about here, there, and yonder because of when GLP-1 drugs became something that was FDA approved for weight loss. And that was like in the fall-ish. It was in 2023, I think, when that became a thing. And they'd been around a little bit before that, of course, but for weight loss, right? And so I started hearing that term food noise, and I was like, what is that? Who is even? Food noise? What? I don't have food noise. I just think about food all the time. I don't have food noise. I just, when I get in the bed at night and I really ought to be going to sleep, I think about the food in the kitchen and I have to get up and get a little something, something. I don't have food noise. I just am thinking about my next meal within an hour or so of eating, and I'm planning it and I'm considering it and all that. I don't have food noise. Yes, I did. That's exactly what food noise is when you can't stop thinking about your next meal, your next snack, your next drink with stuff in it. You ate something and you ought to be full and satisfied, but you're not really full and satisfied. And you can't stop thinking about the next time you get to eat. Or you're craving things even though you know they're not really good for you, but you're just craving it anyway. And you can't stop thinking about it and you have to get up out of the bed. That is food noise. Okay? So, I'm telling you that you probably have it unless you've been eating the food peace way, okay? You're very likely to have it even if you have been eating quote-unquote healthy foods. That was the thing that burnt me up, okay? That was the thing that annoyed the snot out of me, is that I had been eating healthy foods for like a long time. And I had made definite progress in some areas of my health and life, for sure. And especially when I personally dialed in on eating and choosing anti-inflammatory foods most of the time, the bulk of the time, that helped too. That definitely helped my joint pain and all kinds of stuff. Absolutely. But guess what? Eating healthy foods, eating anti-inflammatory foods, as dear as it is to my heart, and we're going to talk a lot about that in a few weeks, even those things did not touch my food noise whatsoever. And even eating healthy foods and anti-inflammatory foods did not reduce my cravings like one would think. I still had them. And as time went on, they got worse and worse and louder and louder. Now, I could certainly not purchase things at the grocery store. Like, I had enough willpower to not purchase things at the store. And for the most part, I did pretty good about not indulging or caving to garbage and junk for the most part. But it was a constant battle, and it got worse and worse, and it got harder and harder to like manage that. And you know, there's a lot of habit stacking going on, and I'm all about habit stacking. I love Atomic Habits, the book, highly recommend it. But it was getting to the point where I was having to do so much to quote unquote help myself be able to stay on track, and I was wearing myself out. And so as people started talking about their food noise being gone with the GLP-1 drugs, and I was hearing from some of the people I like to learn from, different podcasters, different doctors, different scientists that I like to learn from, I was hearing, starting in like the summer of 2023, I started hearing that there were natural ways to raise your natural GLP-1 hormone. And I'm like, and at that time, I didn't even know what they meant. I didn't know that meant, well, GLP-1 hormone is a natural hormone. And I didn't realize that was kind of, they were talking about all of that in the summer of 2023 on a lot of the podcasts I listened to and a lot of the experts. And that was because of what was coming with Ozempic and things like that. Okay. And it took me a while to put two and two together. It did. I'm ashamed to say that, but it just took me a while because I was kind of half listening, because I wasn't worried about drugs because I wasn't going to take any drugs, and I didn't understand it all. And I didn't know what was coming down the pipeline. I just didn't understand. I didn't know. But I did, when all of that started happening, and you had companies like Weight Watchers who was now saying things, and you had other companies doing it, not just Weight Watchers, where they were like, hey, if Weight Watchers doesn't work for you, then take this. And as that started happening more and more, I was like, well, wait a minute, how come healthy eating isn't enough? Like, if actually people are doing it. I mean, obviously, if you don't do it, it doesn't work, right? But I'm like, how come healthy eating isn't working? How come that isn't enough? Why would you need more? That doesn't make sense to me. And I really grappled with that. Maybe you did too. I grappled with a lot of that. I didn't understand it. And so I started thinking back to, oh, wait a minute. I listened to Dr. So-and-so in the summer talk about natural ways to raise a GLP-1 hormone without using a drug. Could that be enough? I don't know. Drugs are powerful. Could that actually work? I don't know. I'm not sure. That sounds weird. Even though it sounded simple, it sounds kind of weird. And so anyway, to catch you up on why we're doing this, in January of 2024, I turned 50. And that was when I was like, okay, here we go. I'm 50. And what I've been doing has not worked in a while. And in fact, my food noise is worse than it's ever been. Although I still didn't know it. I just knew I was having to use a lot of superhuman willpower, and my cravings were crazy, and I'd gained all my weight back. You know, hooray. I'd gained all my weight back even though I was trying so hard to eat healthy. And I was like, you know, I was the wet towel. Well, not on everybody else, but I was the wet towel at any, you know, family event or function. There was no way I was going to eat some of this, that, or the other, even though everybody else was splitting the dessert or whatever. No way, because that would be terrible. Something terrible would happen if I had a bite of that dessert. I don't know what. I'm not sure. But I was like, okay, I'm 50 and I don't know what to do. Like, I know I need to eat anti-inflammatory, duh, because I have RA and I have other issues, and I'm like, for my gut and my RA and my serotonin, like, I need my gut working well. I know I need to eat anti-inflammatory, sure, but that's not enough here. I've gained all my weight back. My cravings are crazy. I'm struggling to not just cave every night at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, even though I ate supper and ate a good supper, good in quotation marks. So I'm like, something has to give, and I'm learning about all this other stuff, and I'm going to try to figure this out. And you know what? I'm going to try some of this on the side, because nothing changes if nothing changes. I wore this t-shirt for you ladies for a reason today. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and something has to give. I really needed a t-shirt that says something has to give, because many of y'all have already turned 50. You know what I'm talking about. You just get to that point where you're like, nah, something got to give. This ain't working. And I'm I'm ready to do a whole lot of stuff with my life and my health, and this ain't working. I need something different. Something got to give. And so that is where it all kind of started. Those of you who are in the Unstuck Foxy Mama membership group, you'll remember back January and February of 2024, and there was so many questions about Ozempic and GLP-1 and insulin resistant. And we dove into that in my membership group, and we were diving into it, learning, trying to sort it out. I was, a few steps ahead of them, but not a lot, because it just kind of caught me blindsided. I'm going to be honest. It probably shouldn't have, but it kind of did. But then I'm like, wait a minute, I know about insulin resistance. I've listened to Dr. Bickman. I've read his book. I'm going to read it again. I've already read it 2 or 3 times. I'm like, I'm going to read that again. I'm going to figure this out. And so anyway, time moves on, and in there, and then in my own life, I started, listening to The Glucose Goddess. Fabulous book. And I will say, let me get this book. If you've never, she has a great book called Glucose Revolution, but it's the science. And if you like that, great, get it. But if you just want the Cliff Notes version, all cutied up and pretty, get this book. The Glucose Goddess Method. It's a great book. It's a great book. Especially if you're somebody that doesn't want to be able to eat a piece of cake every once in a while. Okay? It's okay. It's not going to kill you to do that every once in a while if you really want it. So I love that book. I started listening to that. I started re-listening to Dr. Bittman. Just all these different things. And what happened was 2 weeks that changed my life. And this is what I want to share with you. And I want y'all to jump into this and give this a try for 2 weeks. I don't know why I keep holding up one finger. 2 weeks. There we go. For 2 weeks, I want you to give this a try. Back in mid to late March or so almost exactly 2 years ago, I decided to start putting together meals, starting with breakfast, first meal of the day, that pulled these principles together. Okay, so I'm not inventing anything here. And Glucose Goddess, she doesn't invent anything either. She gives full credit when she gives credit to people when she talks or in her books. I've heard her talk about this. The things that she's pulled together with her 10 hacks or tools or whatever she calls them, those are things that they're just out there in the science. They're out there in the data. They're out there in the information, and she's pulled them together to make them just easy to understand and easy to implement and all those kinds of things. And as I went back and was reading and I've reread, I'm seeing her tools and things like that in lots of other places as well. And I hear about them from lots of different places as well. So I'm not inventing anything here, but I started putting together these things I was learning. And when I ate a food piece breakfast, and then I'm like, oh my word, I haven't thought about food in like 4 hours, maybe even 5 hours. And I mean, I love to eat. It is my love language. I love going out to eat. I love eating. I love food. The idea, and this is no offense to anybody, I really don't mean this offensively at all, but the idea of taking a drug that makes me eat less, that makes me sad. I don't want to not want to eat. I don't want to not want to go out to eat with my husband or my girls to restaurants and things like that. And I know that isn't necessarily the case for everyone that takes a drug like that, but I do know I do know several people in my life where that's the case. And I'm like, gosh, I don't want to do that. I love to eat. So I'm like, there's got to be a way that I can still enjoy my food and love to eat and eat my healthy foods, but lose weight and keep it off and it not be so hard. I don't want it to be hard. I don't mind hard work. And I think sometimes, we have to work hard for things that are important, but I don't want eating and being, healthy with my food to be hard. I don't want it to be difficult. I've already done that and it didn't work in the long run. I don't want it to be complicated. And so anyway, I started doing this, and of course I didn't always build food piece meals perfectly. Of course not. It was something new I was testing out and trying out, and like, oh, this food works better than this one for me, or this amount works better at this meal for me than that amount, or whatever. You know, there's some learning and some growing, and there was some unlearning. Woo, I had to unlearn some things. I had to trust what I was reading from multiple doctors and scientists and experts about, you know, how to build a meal and things. I had to unlearn some stuff and trust some things, and I had to test some things. But what quickly happened was that food noise was gone. And once it was gone, and I'm talking like after a meal, like once it was gone, I was like, oh my gosh, that's food noise? And it was. And then I realized, oh my word, I've had that most of my life, and I just thought it was me. I knew some of my friends didn't have the same issues, for sure. And guess what? Those were the ones that were always slim and trim. The few friends I knew who never had that issue were always healthy weight. And that was an eye-opener, right? And it was because for whatever reason, habits, lifestyle, family, genetics, environment, I don't know. But for whatever reason, I had a few friends in my real life who they don't have that issue, and they've never had that issue. And, you know, that made me realize that, sure, not everybody does. Not everybody may necessarily need a food piece meal. They may not realize, you know, they may not have that food noise or those cravings or those urges or that preoccupation with food or whatever. And they may not quite understand that. I thought I did it until it was gone. And then it was like deafeningly silent. It was like amazing. Gave me back so much of my brain space. And I will say, I felt like, I just felt like I had a new leash on life because I had so much more brain space to put to other things that are way more important than thinking about food. As much as I love food and I love sharing healthy things about food with you ladies, I don't want to think about it all the time. I don't want to be in my kitchen all the time, like trying to measure stuff out and, you know, make this, that, and the other. I don't. There's so many more things I want to think about and talk about or experience or do or contemplate than food all the time. But it was preoccupying so much of my time and brain space before that I guess it slowly built over time, and I didn't realize it until it was gone. And then I'm like, whoa. And my membership mamas who have been there for a while, they'll tell you, 2024, you know, this didn't happen until I'd say by April-ish, or yeah, probably by late March, April is when it really, I started, you know, diving into this and really experiencing the benefits. And as time went on in 2024, I just had so much more freedom in my time, which blew my mind. Like literally it blew my mind that quieting food noise and having food peace would give me more time and give me more energy. And the weight started coming off, and it wasn't hard. It was not hard. It was so easy. It was not hard. It took nothing special, super easy. It took some, you know, tweaking here and there and stuff like that. But my membership mamas who have been here for a long while, they'll tell you all that stuff, all that healing and all that freedom that was going on in you know, mid to late 2024. What resulted in 2025 was my brain. My brain was braining, and I had alleviated so much time and mental wasters by getting rid of that food noise that I was able to move forward in so many ways in the membership group, in the Unstuck Foxy Mamas membership group, to serve the mamas in there. Like every month or two, I was like, okay, here's the next rollout. Here's the next new thing. Here's the next up level of what we're doing here in this membership to better serve you and help you and nurture you. From January of 2025 to December of 2025, the amount of things that we have up leveled in that membership group, it has been so exciting, so amazing. And I'm telling you, It's because my mental space was no longer taken up by complicated food systems, nor was it taken up by food noise that was grieving me to levels I didn't understand. This is why 2 weeks can change everything for you, because it doesn't take that long. It literally just takes a few meals. It doesn't take that long to quiet that food noise and feel the impact, okay? And that is what this next 2-week challenge is all about. It's going to start on March the 16th and go to Sunday, March 29th. I'll have some posts about it to explain to you how to participate, how that's going to work. Many of you have done 2-week challenges in here before, so it's going to work like it always does. It's super simple, super organized. And what we're going to be practicing is having a food piece first meal of the day every day for 2 weeks. And by the end of that 2 weeks, I think your mind's going to be blown if you have not done this or been consistent with it. Now, the next question you'll have is, well, how do I even do that? Because some of you know and some of you don't know, and some of you are kind of know, but you're not quite sure, right? And so I have some free tools for you to know how to do that. And I'm going to share with you briefly just kind of an overview as well. And I'll also share some posts, and we have teachings here already in this group, in this free group, about food peace meal building. So take advantage of the teachings already in here in the guides section of our group. But here's what I have for you. I have a free downloadable food peace starter guide. You probably have it. If you're in this group, you probably have it. But I do have a free food peace starter guide that you can get if you don't have it yet, or you can get it again if you want it. And a while back, not that long ago, but a while back, maybe a month or two ago, we combined that food peace starter guide with a free teaching video that's part of the food peace self-paced course. But there's a free teaching video in the guide. So there's some free tools for you and free teaching in this group. So take advantage of that over the next week and a half to get yourself ready. Now, many of you also have the, hey, Miss Julie, many of you also have the food peace self-paced course. It's $27. You have lifetime access to it. So that means you can watch it as much as you want. It has a setting on the videos. You can speed me up if I talk too slow. I guess you could slow me down, but I doubt you'd want to do that. But remember, last spring, I re-recorded and retaught the teachings because it'd been a year and I wanted to update that, and I wanted to include some things that I had learned. So if you've had the food peace course for a long while, like over a year, make sure you've re-watched the new videos. They were replaced into your course for you. They're sitting there waiting for you to watch them. I want you to take advantage of the free teachings first, though. The free teachings in this group and the free guide. Take advantage of that. After that, if you're like, well, gosh, $27 isn't that much, so maybe I should get the course, then get the course. It's lifetime access. It's access off of social media, so you're not distracted, all that kind of stuff. And if you're not sure how to do that, just post the question in this group or look around and we'll help you get connected to that. But what we're going to do, starting on March 16th, is I want you to set a goal for yourself, for you to have your first meal of the day, I don't care what time, it's up to you, is a food peace meal. So what does that mean? What does that look like? A food peace meal is a meal that fully nourishes your hormones. We're not going to be skimpy. We're not trying to starve our hormones. I did that for a long time and I didn't know that's what I was doing. I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to diet. I don't want to diet. I want to be healthy, but I was starving my hunger and satiety hormones and didn't know it. And for a long time, for far too long, I was not honoring insulin either, and I didn't know it. I was so hyper-focused, like many of you might have been or maybe are, other diet plans out there. I was so hyper-focused on glucose and not spiking my glucose or something about glucose. I was so hyper-focused on that I missed the importance of the hormone insulin and how to take good care of insulin. To some extent, yes, you take good care of insulin by taking good care of glucose, but it's more than that, okay? And so with our food piece meal, first meal of the day, we're honoring and nourishing our hunger and satiety hormones and our insulin. And we're doing that through healthy, simple, whole, chewable foods that you can get at your store, any grocery store you want to get it at. And we're eating them in amounts that truly nourish and quiet food noise naturally without needing an artificial type of drug, a man-made drug, to do so. It's pretty amazing how quickly it does. And the food piece, it does help with sleep and cortisol and mood and all the things. And Heather, if you have the food piece course, I'll say this. For a food piece first meal of the day is the number one key. That's the most important. And that's what our challenge is going to focus on. But, side note, a food piece last meal of the day, so your dinner meal, the impact that had on my evenings and my food noise at night, that was that was just as much a problem as the food noise during the day, for sure. I'm not lying to you. I am not joking when I say that you turn the clock back, 2.5 years ago, and I was a health coach then, and I was trying my little heart out to do all the right things and eat healthy and all that. And I struggled so much with eating my supper and then getting ready for bed and getting in the bed and reading my book to help me relax and doing all the things to support my sleep, because I am, sleep and stress management certified coach, and I know lots of things to do for sleep and stress management. But I would get in the bed and it would be, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And my stomach wasn't growling. I wasn't actually hungry, but I could not stop thinking about the snacks in the kitchen, whether they were healthy or not. Let's pretend they were. Let's pretend it was some salty, pecans or almonds or, something quote unquote low carb, whatever. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I would get up just to get a little something. Just a little something, but it's hard to get a little something when it's crunchy and salty, at least for me. It's hard to get a little something. It's usually a medium something. And I would do that often, and I would tell myself, well, at least I didn't get the chips this time. But sometimes I did, and it was ridiculous. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I would sit there reading my book, and I would be I would be literally I cannot stop thinking about the food. That sounds crazy. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been there. But whether or not you have or haven't, to have food noise to that extreme was frustrating, especially as a health coach. To have gained all your weight back despite eating as healthy as you could, or you thought you could, being a health coach, very frustrating. And I knew something had to change. I mean, it just did. It had to change. And I couldn't. The other problem was once I started learning what worked for me and what made sense, and once I started learning more about insulin and how important insulin is, and how, the numbers fluctuate because it's hard to get a solid number. But we'll play it safe and say that 6 to 8% of the U.S. is metabolically healthy. That's not much. 92 to 94% of the U.S. is metabolically unhealthy. That's staggering. And part of the definition of metabolic disease is insulin resistance. Insulin that's the core of it right there, is you're insulin resistant to some level. So anyway, once I started really learning that and understanding that and shifting my focus, everything changed. And it didn't take that long for the big impactful things to change. Now, did I lose all the weight I wanted to lose in 2 weeks? Of course not. That's not healthy. Okay? That's not good. Of course I didn't. But what happened, and this is what I want for you during this 2-week challenge, if you have not already been doing this, okay? What happened was, by consistently doing this for 2 weeks, I began to see and realize what an impact eating that way was going to have on my entire day and my weeks and my months. I began realizing, oh my gosh, I am in control of food, truly in control of food for the first time kind of ever. I mean, maybe since I was 2. Like, I'm in control. It doesn't control me. It doesn't control me anymore. I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it. I love to eat. I want to eat. I'm not starving myself. I'm not dieting. I'm eating ample food. I'm nourishing my hormones. And by hormones, we get so caught up in the sex hormones. We get so caught up in estrogen, and it's important. Yes, we get so caught up when people say hormones. People so often immediately start thinking, "Oh, you mean estrogen?" No, I don't mean just estrogen. Insulin and cortisol are the master hormones. If we can work on those, and we can, if we can do so many wonderful things for those, and we are going to positively impact all the other hormones. And then I started learning, oh my goodness, hunger and satiety hormones like GLP-1 and leptin and ghrelin, those are lesser known to some extent, although leptin's having a moment, right? GLP-1 had a moment. But once we start learning about those and realizing, wait a minute, I can do a lot to improve my hunger and satiety hormones. I can do so much to make this better for myself and easier for yourself. I'm all about easy and simple. I really am. I'm not about complicated. I'm all about easy and simple. I'm all about what is the easiest, simplest, and healthiest way, sustainable way to get the results I want that's going to help me age well and live vibrantly. Okay? So that is going to be our free challenge for 2 weeks. We're going to commit to having a food piece first meal of the day. And to participate in the challenge, you'll build it, you'll take a picture of it, and you'll drop it in the comments of that day's post. Now, you might not see the post until on up in the day. So just starting March 16th, at your first meal of the day, just snap that picture. And then if it's 2 days later before you get into the group to share that picture in the post, that's okay. You can do that. The post will be there, it will be organized, it will be pinned, and you'll be able to find it. And you'll be able to share your picture on that day for like Monday, Tuesday, and so on. And when I have a free challenge, we'll have winners and we'll have prizes. And oh my gosh, yes, Kathy, exactly. And you know, that's the thing. I'm so glad you said that. So Kathy says that she's been there. Her husband could just mention wanting something sweet, and then she would be thinking about it all night until she finally just ate it. Right? And I've done this before where I don't do it anymore, but I've done this before where I'm like, well, what I really want to get out of the bed and eat is some tortilla chips, but that's not healthy. So I'll just eat some cashews instead. And so then I'm getting out of the bed at 9 o'clock at night to eat some cashews. And then it's like, well, that was pretty good, but I really wanted tortilla chips. So I'm just going to get some. Or I overeat the cashews to make up for what I really wanted. But either way, not good. Not good at night. Definitely, that's food noise. And what that's coming from is hormones that haven't been fully nourished and taken care of. It's coming from not having enough protein. I know we kind of get tired of hearing about protein, but sorry, it's just part of it, right? It's coming from not having enough ample, quality, dense protein. And your brain is literally like, I need you to go into the kitchen and eat to give me enough of those essential things I need. But of course, you know, our brain does not tell us exactly what that is. And I'm pretty sure it ain't tortilla chips, but that sure is what mine would tell me. It's probably not even cashews, right? But that is what mine would tell me. And yours might tell you chocolate chip cookies or ice cream. It's like, I don't think that's essential. But it's your brain is not fully nourished. Your hormones are not fully nourished, and it's looking for you to meet that need. Food Peace Meal Building meets that need, okay? So with our Food Peace Meal Building, to wrap this up, here's what you're going to have. And please get the free guide because it lays it all out in print. Lots of information and details. You don't have to get the course if you're not in a place where you even want to, or you're not sure about it, or you don't have the margin to do it or the money to do it. That's fine. But get the free guide, okay? So just to recap what a Food Peace meal is going to look like. You're going to have what we call a veggietizer, and it's like a little veggie appetizer to start your meal off. And I've got some information, some videos in here about the veggietizer and all the beautiful things it does for our body. It does so many neat things for us in the moment. But it's just like, it's nothing weird. It's nothing crazy. You don't need special ingredients. You don't need to go out and buy anything unusual or anything like that. It's literally like if you go to a steak restaurant, a steakhouse, and you order the Caesar salad and they bring it out before they bring your steak, right? That's a veggietizer, guys. It's not hard. It's not complicated. It's not weird. It's a little plate of veggies to start your meal off. They can be cooked. They can be raw. I like raw because it's easy and I ain't got to cook it. I'll be honest. But it doesn't have to be. It can be fermented, like fermented kraut or fermented pickles, or not. It can be pickled. It doesn't matter. But as long as it's like low carb veggies or greens, okay? So you're going to start out with a veggietizer, and it doesn't have to be huge necessarily, because when you have your proper meal with your protein, you should have more veggies and or greens with that. Those are important. Protein, I've said this for like 3-4 years now. Protein, yes, but also veggies. Please don't get so hyper-focused on protein that you leave off your wonderful veggies and greens and berries. Those are full of antioxidants, full of fiber, and those are also important for gut health. And gut health is important for brain health and serotonin and anxiety and mood and all those things. Lots of reasons. So you're going to have your little veggietizer, whatever you want it to be. Can vary it. Some days mine's bigger than others. Sometimes mine's kind of small. It depends on what's going on in my meal. And then with your proper breakfast meal, your first meal of the day, here's the key. You need at least 30 grams of dense, quality, chewable protein. And that was the one that gets me, right? So I'm talking not powders at this meal, okay? 30 grams at least, and you might need more, but 30 grams is the minimum of dense, quality, chewable protein. That is what's going to help you be truly satiated. That is what's going to give your body the essential amino acids that's in the dense, quality, chewable protein that your body recognizes and needs and is actually going to satisfy you. So here's the thing. I'm trying to be careful. So vitamins and supplements have their place, okay? And I am not here to tell you which ones to take and use and all that, because I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. So I try to stay in my lane, okay? I want to talk to you about food and lifestyle habits because I'm triple certified to talk to you about those things. Now, just like how if I don't take a vitamin C supplement, there's nothing wrong with it, but let's say that I did take a vitamin C supplement. That doesn't negate having vitamin C rich food, right? That's important. And really, if you're doing that, you might not need a vitamin C supplement unless you're getting sick or you're healing adrenals, special circumstances. I do take a vitamin D supplement because I had a case of really bad low vitamin D a few years ago. This was about 6 years ago. Okay, long time ago. But that doesn't negate me going outside and getting fresh air and sun on my eyeballs and my skin for also making vitamin D. It doesn't negate that. And so I know some of you may use different kinds of powders and things like that to supplement, and that's fine. You do that all you want. But I'm going to tell you, those things might help you reach a protein goal. They might help you even with some muscle building. What they don't do is satisfy. They don't satiate. Not like dense, chewable quality protein. And that's why I'm so big on making sure you understand the importance of real whole food and the place it has in truly satisfying your appetite, your hormones, and nourishing yourself. So at this meal, I want you to have at least 30 grams. Now, why 30? Well, turns out that the minimum of protein grams that your body is needing and expecting to receive at your first meal of the day and your last meal of the day is minimum of 30 grams, like after age 30, like I'd say by age 40, I think that's stretching it, but we'll say by age 40, you need at least 30 grams of protein to actually initiate muscle protein synthesis. That's muscle building. Okay. And so we hear a lot about protein, like, okay, you need to get more protein in. But it's important to understand you need to get enough in at one whack as opposed to, like spreading out 10 to, let's say 20 grams, because a lot of protein powders are 20 grams of protein. Let's say that you spread out protein powder drinks, every 2 or 3 hours, 20 grams. That's not enough to initiate muscle protein synthesis. 30 is the minimum, and that's after like age 30 to 40. And as we age, our body just becomes less efficient, less good at using those things, and we have to give it a little bit more. So for myself at age 52, my breakfast usually ranges around 35 to 40 grams of protein. Sometimes it is closer to 30, but it's in that range. And then at supper time, I try to make sure I'm getting close to the 30, like 30, 32, something like that. It's usually not quite as much at night, for sure. But we want to have that ample, dense quality protein. And yes, we are trying to make sure we're preserving our muscle and we're building muscle. And it takes a minimum of 30 grams to even have that process work, as well as ample fat. So let's not go low fat, okay? But even more than that, the reason we want this first meal of the day to have dense quality protein is for what it's going to do for your food noise, for your hormones, for your insulin, but for those hunger and satiety hormones that actually have a lot more say in your day than you probably realized. So that's that, okay? So we've got our vegetizer first, and then we have our quality protein of 30 grams or a little bit more, and then other veggies and greens that are low carb. What this meal isn't going to have for food peace and to really set your insulin up well for the day and just set your mind and body up well, it's not going to have those starchy, sugary carbs that might work okay for you to have at your middle meal or your last meal. And I'm talking about the whole food ones. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't have them. As a matter of fact, I had an apple today myself. At my middle meal, I had an apple with almond butter as part of my middle meal. I love them, okay? And just a few days ago, we had dinner and we had some little baby golden and little baby red potatoes. I had that at my last meal of the day. I am not saying carbs are bad, okay? Not whole food carbs that are anti-inflammatory. But what I am saying is that at that first meal of the day, we're not going to have those starchy, sugary carbs at that meal. Now, you can have all kind of there's plenty of veggies and greens to enjoy. And some of those are a little bit more carby than others. For example, a carrot is a little more carby than celery, right? You can have all those kind of beautiful things. I'm talking about the things that are very starchy, like potatoes, like fruit. You're going to not have those at that first meal. save them for your middle meal or your last meal for sure. And for heaven's sake, use the Glucose Goddess tools to help yourself manage a spike and things like that for sure. Okay. But that's how you're going to build that meal is Vegetizer, ample, dense quality protein, other veggies and greens in the meal, cooked or raw, fermented, pickled, whatever combination you enjoy, and just we're going to leave our carbs off, okay? And it's going to make such a difference for you. And it really is important to have those veggies and greens in there because you do want that fiber, and that Vegetizer is also going to help there at the front to have that fiber mesh that we've learned about and I've talked about before that will really help with fullness and satiety as well as that ample protein. And as far as fats, you're probably gonna cook your protein in a little healthy fat. We want to have healthy fats. You probably don't need me to tell you what that is. I bet you know, but things like olive oil, avocado oil, even coconut oil can work. Butter, ghee, all those kinds of things. You're going to probably cook your protein in something like that for sure. And we have lots of ideas here in this group of food peace meal building. You see mamas share all the time. This does not mean you have to eat eggs every day. It doesn't. I don't. I eat them some, but not every day. Leftovers from dinner of the night before can be a huge help. Eat whatever supports you. This food peace meal, first meal of the day, is all about supporting your day, not just the first hour or two of the day, not just the first 3 hours of the day. It's all about setting you up so well that you are so supported and you are so in control of your food choices that it's not hard. You're not having to fight against yourself or battle against yourself to make good choices. It's easy. This is all about making it easy on yourself and giving you back time and freedom and brain space, margin, and all the things. And all of that, the bonus is we're taking such good care of insulin and working to prevent or reverse insulin resistance. So I'm looking forward to this. There'll be some more posts about it so you can learn more about it, but get that free guide if you don't have it. If you are someone who has, and like Brenda did, I'm so glad Brenda did that, but if you have done the Food Peace course before and it's been like a game changer, like please share that in this group. But also if you're just now doing the Food Peace course or you're revisiting and you have questions, ask in this group. Because there's lots of mamas who have already done it and practiced it. There's a lot of membership mamas in here, Foxy Foundation mamas. Okay, let's see. Wendy, you said you didn't understand food noise when I first started mentioning, and now you get it. Yes. How is it I can be thinking about and wanting something to eat when I'm not even hungry? I know. I cannot believe I lived most of my life that way. And it really, it kind of annoys me. I'm just being honest, Wendy, just between me and you, Wendy. It kind of annoys me that it had gotten worse. It had gotten so much worse when I was trying so hard a few years ago, right? That annoys me. But it also is like, it also allows me to be able to say to you that just choosing healthy foods is not the full picture of it. And I know that stinks. Like I wish I could just say to you, oh, just eat healthy foods, eat nature's foods and all your problems will go away. It will help, right? Eating healthy foods, eating from the garden, eating from the farmer's market. Whatever. Yes, that will help. For sure, especially if you've been eating garbage, right? If you've been eating the standard American diet, the SAD diet, yeah, switch into eating real food and not eating garbage. Yes, that will help for a while. But if we're eating too often and we're never giving insulin a break and we're not honoring insulin, and if we're not taking good care of our hunger and satiety hormones by fully nourishing ourselves, eventually just eating healthy food will not work anymore. It won't be enough anymore. And it's so frustrating. You know, it's so frustrating. And the good news is, though, as frustrating as that is, eating food piece meals, it's simple. It's not complicated. It's very easy. Definitely the more you heal and the more you do it and the further you go, you definitely change and tweak and respond to where you are in that journey. But just starting out with that first meal of the day, I did a video in here, some number of months ago where, and it's in the group somewhere, but it's also on my YouTube, where I talked about how I went from eating, you know, and by eating, I mean putting stuff in my drink between meals, little stuff in my meal, you know, in my drinks there. I went from eating in some fashion, some amount 6 times a day, down to 5, and then 4, and then 3. I was gentle with myself when I started on this change of building meals the food piece way. I was very gentle on myself. These days, I eat 3 times a day. That's it. Sometimes I only eat 2, but usually 3. And I don't have stuff going on in my drinks in between meals that is basically food or disrupting my insulin and causing an insulin response. I don't do that anymore. That doesn't mean I don't have a cup of creamy coffee. You better know I have a cup of creamy coffee. Oh my goodness. I just now have it butted up against a meal instead of just, you know, out there all by itself. Okay. You better know I have my, you know, I'll have my collagen coffee still, but now I have it to close a meal as opposed to just random, because now I know more about what's going on there when I'm having stuff in my drink and what's going on with my insulin. It's not just about glucose. Of course, a creamy collagen coffee doesn't necessarily spike my glucose, but it does initiate an insulin response. And I want to take good care of my insulin, because when I do, it takes good care of me. It takes such good care of me. And it's not hard. Okay? So we're going to start with this first meal of the day. This one is a big one. It's a big habit. And I did debate, y'all. I did debate about doing this as a free challenge, because this is a lot more complicated than my usual challenges are. For example, in the past, we've done things like get enough protein, you know, get 30 grams of protein at your meal, but everything else was up to you in that meal. We've done that. We've done have a vegetizer before your meal. Just that single component. We've done the vegetizer. We've done the protein. We've done these single components, but I decided that, you know, it's March and some of you had some goals and resolutions that you made in early January, and you're already starting to see them either unravel or not work, or you've abandoned them. And March is a great time. Here we go into spring, time of renewal, a time of freshness. So let's do this 2-week challenge where you are going to learn and practice how to do a food piece first meal of the day. And let's just tackle it. Let's put it together. And you can just keep on practicing it even after we're done, and post in here and ask for help. That's the thing. This is a free community group full of women who want to be here and encourage you and help you troubleshoot and all those kinds of things. And if you ever build what you think is a food piece meal and within an hour you're like, I'm hungry, that didn't work. Well, it could be that your hunger and satiety hormones are so whacked out for so long that it's going to take a little bit more time. It could be that. It could be. It could be that you're very, very insulin resistant. If you're a type 2 diabetic, it might take a little bit more time to get that to work. But often it's just a matter of, well, you didn't have enough dense protein, or maybe you didn't have enough, you know, veggies, fiber, whatever. And we can help you think about and consider and troubleshoot what it might be and how to handle that. Because being logical here, if we just step back from our own life and just be a little logical, we shouldn't need or want to eat every couple of hours. Like that, we shouldn't need or want that. That doesn't even make sense. But I've been there. where I'm thinking about it and where I feel like I got to have something, where I felt like there's no way I can go 5 hours without eating. Oh my gosh. There's no way I could go 6 hours without eating. Oh my gosh. Well, that's kind of silly when you think about it. If you're truly nourishing yourself, then generally, like unless you're pregnant, nursing, or you're a toddler or a teenage boy, you probably can go a few hours without eating, and it's not a problem, and it's not taking over your life, and it's not making you a hot mess. I know there can be special circumstances and health issues. I'm not talking about that. You know that. There's always exceptions, blah, blah, blah. We know that. I'm talking about the normal, average, 40, 50, 60-year-old lady. More than likely, you can go a few hours without eating. And of course you could if you had to, right? Of course you could go a few hours without eating if you had to. But I don't want you to be put in a position where you're now having to white knuckle it and use superhuman willpower to power through that, because that's not honoring hunger and satiety hormones either. So like when you're denying yourself, that's like dieting, right? When you're denying yourself, when you eat like some skimpy little, breakfast that's like, well, I'm just going to have a collagen coffee with, half a pear. I'm just going to have a collagen coffee with a little thing of overnight oats for breakfast. When you're dieting like that, and then in an hour or two you are hungry, yeah, I bet you are. You probably are. You did not eat enough, girl. You did not eat enough. You did not nourish your body and your hormones. And I would say, so Christy, here's what it's changed for me over time with what it looks like for me. Like I said, I did a video a while back. At first, I just wanted to get control. I just wanted to get control and see some positive results from eating healthy, because I had maxed out what I was going to get by choosing anti-inflammatory foods, but eating the way I used to eat a few years ago. And I just needed some positivity in my life. Let's be honest. I needed something to change and improve. And so for me, what I knew I kept hearing was how important it was to not eat after supper, and how important it was to not have more food closer to bedtime. And I'm like, well, that's lovely. Please tell me how to do that. How am I going to do that without, again, having to use superhuman willpower, or like, it's not fun. That was one of the things I kept hearing from lots of different experts. And the other thing I kept hearing was, don't snack. Have your 3 meals, maybe 2, depending on the expert, right? Because there are some fasting experts out there, and they have good points. But let's just stick with 3 meals a day, 3 squares, okay? Have your 3 squares and don't snack. And I'm like, what? How am I going to do that? I can't possibly do that. I literally felt that way. I'm not joking. I literally was like, well, wait a minute. I have a collagen coffee when I first wake up with some, stuff in it. Coconut oil, collagen, non-dairy creamer, or half and half, whatever. I have that, and that's a meal. That's food. I fueled. There's stuff in there. And then I'd have breakfast. And then if I was a good girl, I would make it to lunch. But I didn't always make it to lunch. Sometimes I had to have a little something in there, and then I would have lunch, and then I would have an afternoon snack, and then I would have dinner, and then I would have something else before bed, right? And so my goal personally was to just get it to where I wasn't even desiring or feeling tempted to eat after supper before bed. Now, I don't do this so much anymore, but like I would totally, at that time, you go back 2 years ago, herbal teas, herbal decaf teas, hot teas, that was my friend. I did use those a lot, because even once I was doing the food piece meal building at supper too, I wasn't hungry and I wasn't really thinking about food, but it was just having that hand to mouth habit, Now I'm past that. I don't necessarily need anything like that, but that's okay if you do. That's fine. So my goal was to do that. And so at first it was just, okay, couple of hours. I'm not an early eater personally. I never have been. I don't want to eat within an hour of waking up. That's just not me. I've never been that way, and I'm still not that way. And so I just wanted to be able to get it to where I could have 3 meals a day, spread out, be wrapped up with dinner by, 3 or so hours before bed. That was my goal. So I hate to kind of put a time on your hours because it really depends on your schedule. It depends on when you start your first meal and when you want to have your last meal. But ultimately, to honor your insulin and take good care of your hunger and satiety hormones, the main thing is to get to that point where you're truly nourishing yourself with these meals that quiet the food noise and nourish your hormones, and you're having just 3 a day, and you don't even need or want a snack, and you're not thinking about it, and you can go about your day. But you're fueling yourself. You're giving yourself plenty of good protein. You're giving yourself plenty of good fiber, plenty of good fat, okay? And so that was what I did. And then once there was a lot of healing that was happening with my hunger and satiety hormones and my insulin, it got to where I was having, and this is where I'm at now. I have 3 meals a day. The first one and the last one are food peace. The one in the middle is small. It's what you might call a snack size. It's more like a snack. And I don't have a vegetizer at that meal anymore. I did at first, but now I don't do that at that meal. It's snack, it's small. I'm not worried about it. It's so, and what's funny is that I can have this little snack meal and I can go, 4 or 5 or so hours before supper, no problem, even though it's small. But it's because my first meal has set me up so well. And between meals, I'm drinking water or I'm drinking black coffee or whatever. I'm not constantly keeping my insulin running all the time. And so that helps a lot with satiety and food noise as well when you're giving insulin a break and it's not constantly running in your bloodstream all the time. It gets a little bit of a break, okay? So I would say usually from my breakfast to my middle meal when I have one, it's usually like 5 or so hours, something like that. And then from the middle meal to supper, it's usually like 5 hours, give or take. I'm not being hardcore about it. My main goal is to have 3 meals a day, most days, sometimes 2. And when I have to, it's usually because we've gone out to eat for breakfast or brunch, and it's just a big later kind of meal kind of thing. So I hope that helps. And I mean, I never thought I'd be there. I never thought I would be a non-snacker. I don't snack anymore. And I've snacked my whole life. I never thought I would be there. And it just blows my mind. It's such a game changer. It's amazing. Now, if you have any questions, though, like I said, drop them into this group. Please, I know this free challenge is a little bit more complicated than my normal ones. The ones later in the year will be a little bit easier, but this one's powerful. And this one is going to be like so powerful for you to be starting off 2026 with, okay? Please invite mama friends in here, especially if they're struggling with whatever goals, whatever diet plan they were trying to use at the beginning of this year. If they're struggling, if they're, if food noise is a problem for them, if they've said that, if they recognize that. I didn't recognize it. I didn't know it until it was gone. Or if they're just struggling with, cravings and being out of control with food choices. Please invite them in. And I'd love for them to participate, but even if they just stand back and watch and listen, that's okay too. That's totally fine. Okay? All right, ladies, thanks for hanging out with me for so long. And I will post more about this free challenge. It starts on March 16th. So you have plenty of time to get that free guide, invite your friends in, and to get ready to build food peace, first meal of the day. And you can go ahead and start practicing and posting on your own in this group, and we'll give you some feedback. Okay? All right. Bye-bye, ladies.